Hi, I'm Wade Harvey. Welcome to part 3 of putting the pieces of .NET together. And this is an exciting part on security. I think it's exciting because a lot of people get tripped up in security because it's at a lot of different levels and you're not sure which level is tripping you up. So in security there's two parts of it. It's called authentication and authorization. This is confusing because both words look very similar. But authentication asks, who is this person that I'm talking to? And authorization asks, does this person have the permissions to access the file that they're trying to get at? So there's two different levels of security. And there's three different levels of security in general: a file level, SQL Server, and ASPNET. So let's look at each of those. At the file level, this is the most basic. To add users, if we're just on our computer, we use the control panel and add a user using this interface. And if we're on the network, we use Windows Active Directory to add users. Once users are added, file permissions can be assigned to those users using right-click on the file in Windows Explorer and select the Properties Security tab, and then you just use Edit. I'll demonstrate this. Okay, we'll go to this document. It doesn't really matter which file it is. I right-clicked on it. I clicked on Properties, and then I selected the Security tab. Now, I'll go back to General for a second. Okay, selected the Securities tab, and then these are the users that have access to the file. If I want to edit their permissions, these people already have to be added to my computer. If I edit their permissions, then I click on Edit, and I can go in there and select how I want to change their permissions to that particular file. And if I don't see the user in here, but they're on the network somewhere, I can type in their name like this and click on Check Names, and it'll find if that person's available. This one's not. But the key there is that the person already has to be on your computer. An account has to be created for that person on your computer or in the network somewhere so that you can assign them permissions. So that's assigning permissions at the file level. The next level is at SQL Server level, and this has two levels. When you create an instance of SQL Server, which you do when you run setup for SQL Server, and you can assign whether you want SQL Server authentication or mixed mode. Now if you choose mixed mode, it'll just use Windows authentication if you want, or with SQL Server you have to have a login of SA is typically what we start out with for system administrator, and you can add more logins at the server level by going into your server and expanding this and adding them there. I'll show you a demonstration of that. Okay, here's my SQL Server. And under the Security tab let me close down this other thing so it won't be so confusing. Sorry about that. Okay, here's my basic instance of SQL Server. When you install SQL Server Express, the instance that gets installed is called your computer name plus /SQL Express, or it can be just period /SQL Express or localhost SQL Express. Anyway, under the Security tab you can add users, and that would be under the logins, and you can add server roles here. Okay, at the database level you can also add security, And here for like North Wind, you click on the Security tab, and it exposes the users where you can add more users, and you can add roles there. So we return to the slideshow. Okay, we did at the server level, and we did at the database level, and now we're looking at ASP.NET. And there's two ways to set this up. You can use the ASP.NET configuration tool, which is in the upper right hand corner of your project when you're working in Visual Studio. It's got a hammer and something other tools on there. And when you're or you can do it programmatically. Either way, ASP.NET SQL membership provider is the default provider, and you can specify which database you want your SQL security tables to go in by using the web config. Use a connection string in there to point to your database. And these are the default tables that get installed, and you can add users, roles, and give permissions either programmatically or using the configuration tool. Now, a common question that I get is how do I find out who's using their process, or a common question I have. So the easiest way to do this, I've found, is use the task manager and right-click on the application and say go to process, and the process will show who the user is. I'll demonstrate this. Here's under processes. I'll demonstrate this. So we go into the start button. You can also start Task Manager by doing Control-Alt-Delete and selecting it from there, but I'll just do it this way, Task Manager. Okay, and then we go to Applications. We click on the application. This is ASP.NET Development Server. Then you right-click on it, and you say, this one at the bottom says Go to Process, and that tells me that Wade Harvey is who's using that. So that's who needs to have the rights to use whatever I'm trying to use in my application. This is because I'm running in development. If it was production, it would be somebody else. IUSR machine name typically. Okay, so that's that.